What 100% fact is the hardest to believe? Tarantulas keep tiny frogs as pets. That only 6 people have survived rabies. Rabies has a 99% mortality rate. You can have rabies for an entire year without symptoms, and once you have symptoms, it's already late. You'll probably die in a couple of days if you have symptoms. An Australian man won the lottery, then on camera to reenact the winning for the news he bought another ticket, he won the lottery again on camera. There is enough water in Lake Superior to cover North and South America in water 1 foot deep. Dragonflies accelerate at up to 4G and corner at up to 9G. President Jimmy Carter rappelled into a nuclear reactor that was in partial meltdown to stop the meltdown and save Atoa. Before he became president, of course. The Australian funnel web spider is often regarded as the world's deadliest and hasn't had a confirmed kill in over 40 years since the antivenom was created. Very few mosquito species prefer human blood, but among those that do, only 5% are deadly to humans. Those 5% though, kill more people annually than humans do. 1/6 of the world's living languages are only spoken in New Guinea. In 1995, a man named MacArthur Wheeler robbed 2 banks at gunpoint. He was arrested mere hours later because he didn't wear a mask. Instead, he decided to coat his face in lemon juice because he read that lemon juice can be used to make invisible ink. His logic was that it would make his face invisible. And reportedly, he said to one of the tellers, "Don't worry, I have a face, it's just invisible." The only thing he did when he was arrested was sigh dejectedly and say, "But I wore the juice." His case is actually still in academic journals regarding the fact that people with low intelligence do in fact believe that they're smarter than everyone else. ETA, this man was 45 fucking years old. From the time it was discovered to the time it lost its status as a planet, Pluto made it less than a third of the way around the Sun. Every human could fit into a cubic mile. That a spy named Joan Pugil Garcia was awarded the highest honor of service from both the Allies and Axis in the Second World War. 2/3 of Canada's population lives south of Seattle. Edit, here's a visual, edited edit, here's an even better visual, with commentary. 105 billion people have lived so far. 7.9 billion of us are currently alive. What's the most unprofessional thing a doctor has ever said to you? Heart surgery is an outpatient procedure. My insurance company's board-certified doctor on justifying why no intensive care or recovery would be authorized. In the end, at least on paper, my unconscious ass, with multiple chest drain plugs and on oxygen, had to be wheeled out onto the curb, then wheeled into ER and readmitted on account of being in critical condition after heart surgery. Blue Cross really upped the ante on bullying me into dying instead of going through the bother of trying to live without bankrupting myself. I went to the doctors to get my breasts checked. He basically just held and caressed them in a manner he wouldn't have had a chance to feel anything potentially dangerous, and due to them causing me a lot of physical pain, I asked him about my options regarding breast reduction surgery. He got visibly angry and told me to never even think about it, and called them beautiful and tender. He was well in his 50s and I was 18 to 19. I paid like $50 for Master Rashi to ignore my health issues and make me find another doctor who actually wanted to help people. Had a bad head injury when I was a kid, 12 or 13, and saw a bunch doctors trying to figure out what was wrong. Got a little snippy with one of them over something I don't even remember. Pulled up the medical record years later and she referred to me as a child of the devil in her report. Had to make some phone calls to get that diagnosis removed from my record. Not a doctor but a nurse. And it just happened recently. I was hospitalized due to a pretty bad car accident. Unfortunately, due to the surgery and general trauma, while I could feel the urge to urinate, I could get the muscles to relax so I could urinate on my own. For the first day they were just doing in and out catheters whenever I said, "Hey, I got to piss and I can't, please help." It was uncomfortable, but I managed till I got to the night nurse. Told her at 8:30, "Hey, need help with this." She does a bladder scan, says not enough urine right now. 10:30 rolls around and I tell her again and she's like, "I did the bladder scan, you're fine." 12:30 I did the bladder scan. At 10 it's not enough urine, so now she lies to me. I finally get her to do the catheter at 4 in the morning, where she proceeds to take out 1.3 liters of urine out of my bladder. Unprofessional, but funny. I had taken my 92-year-old mother to a recheck appointment to her PCP. An apparently new medical assistant was dutifully getting her history by reading off a checklist. When she asked when Mom's last period was, I looked at Mom a little nervously. She was very old school, very dignified, and would typically never acknowledge to her sons that she had female parts. I saw a rare twinkle in Mom's eyes as she calmly replied, "Well, I can't give you an exact number of months, but I'm pretty sure it was sometime in the late 1960s. The assistant had the good grace to laugh with us, apologize, then read the next question. "Do you think you might be pregnant?" Edit. Changed PPP to PCP. When I was in junior high, I went out for the basketball team. I had to take a physical and it had to be done by the school's doctor and not my own. I went in to do the physical and had to get naked. I did so and the doctor looked me over. He saw that I have an inverted breastbone and said, "Wow. That is freakish. You can't be on the team with that." I know that my breastbone makes it look like I have a hole in my chest, but I had never been self-conscious about until that moment. Because this examination was taking place in the boys' locker room in front of other kids wanting to go out for the team too, everyone started laughing at me and calling me names. I grabbed my shit and left. My mother took me to our regular doctor who reassured me that there was nothing wrong with me and that there are plenty of people who have breastbones just like mine. It didn't help but I appreciated that she explained it to me. I stopped taking off my shirt in front of others. I was harassed and bullied by my entire class for years to come because a doctor made an comment that he shouldn't have made. "You're not depressed, you don't look sad. You must just be tired. Here, take these sleeping pills, but don't take them all at once." I had a doctor comment on how I've lost weight. Fine, I get that, but when I told him I started going to a gym he told me not to try to build muscle because it will just turn to fat someday anyway. It wasn't what was said, but I did have an appointment where the doctor just never showed up. I was in the examination room for about 45 minutes when Ma walked in and asked me what I was doing there. When I said I was waiting for the doctor already left. "We're closing." Instead of calling the doctor back they made me schedule another appointment. I found a new office instead. Not to me, but about me. I went to see the family doctor over a minor thing. I was an adult at the time, and didn't tell my parents because they freak out about anything medical related. My mother went to see him a few weeks later and he told her I'd been to see him. I was so fucking angry. I was looking for a surgeon for my gallstone operation and he asked what meds I was on. I mentioned my antidepressants and he started saying I didn't need to take them, I just needed to pray. I was pissed and replied, "I guess I'll just pray my gallstones away too then." Needless to say, I went with a different surgeon. When I was 21 I dislocated my shoulder and it continued to hurt for weeks. Went to a specialist, he suggested the pain was all in my head. After an MRI he realized I had a slap tear in my shoulder, so I said, "Looks like it's not all in my head," and he looked at me with such contempt, I never went back to that asshole. Pediatrician looked at our toddler, standing with a swayback, lordosis, posture, then without considering anything else turned to my wife and said, "She stands like that because you baby her too much." That was only our first clue that the doctor was a fucking moron. Was given a condescending lecture on how I shouldn't have come in if I just had a cold by both a doctor at a walk-in center and my GP in a follow-up the week following. I ended up getting rushed into resuscitation a few weeks later with a punctured lung that caused a one-way valve in my lung where air could escape into my chest cavity but not get back out. Because it was brushed off / not properly investigated, it caused a life-threatening condition called tension pneumothorax where the pressure that had built up over time on one side of my chest caused my lung to collapse completely and started crushing my heart and other lung, and compressing / bending the arteries, veins, and esophagus in my neck. When they put a chest drain into me, my chest cavity literally sounded like it was deflating like a car tire puncture. My mum had some symptoms that resulted in a scan of her brain. It sort of looked like she might have a tumor or water on the brain or something. When giving her the results, the doctor said, "Maybe this is God's way of saying it's time." My mum, who was in her 50s at the time, went absolutely off on them, "God has nothing to do with this," etc. Turns out she was fine. Symptoms were related to something else, and the ambiguous scan results could have been machine or human error. People of Reddit, what is one thing your family will never understand about you? My desire to be left alone. I love solitude. That I'm not always as quiet and boring as I am when I'm around them. It's just that they're so judgy and hateful of everyone and it makes me uncomfortable. So I don't behave the same around them as I do with my friends, etc. That having boundaries doesn't mean I don't care or love you. They are there for a reason because of how I was treated growing up, but I still want you in my life despite everything. Boundaries are not walls, they are bridges for you to maintain a relationship with me in a way that allows us to respect each other. That the reason I have found success, both personal and financial, in life is because I watched them for years and do the exact opposite. Bad part is that they seem to reward and normalize bad decisions. That I have young onset Parkinson's disease. They don't get that I can't write or balance things. Despite scans and specialists, they think I'm too young, 36M. They keep telling me to fucking breathe and it'll all be fixed. I swear if one more person tells me to fucking breathe through tremors and falls, I may tell them that they should have been a blowjob. Kinda depressing, but just how painful the ringing in my ears are. That I don't always want to wear my hearing aids. It's exhausting to constantly hear sounds you normally never hear/understand. That I've literally never done anything that they've accused me of over the years. And now they don't understand why I don't like to be around them. Being the family scapegoat is a pain in the ass. It makes me sad. Not all of my family do, but some think it's very weird and a bad thing that I'm prioritizing travel and seeing the world while I'm young-ish. Left the US for the first time at 19, I'm 28 now and have been to 44 countries and 38 US states. I've worked my ass off, saved up, then traveled. Have done that 2 times now. Currently working hard again in preparation for my next trip. They all tell me to work now and travel when I'm retired. In the year before COVID I backpacked Asia, rode a motorcycle through 14 European countries, and lived out of a van in New Zealand. I don't think I'd enjoy those things as much when I'm 65. Edit, I'm getting loads of PMS on how to travel and whatnot. Hey, race my quick tips. 1. Travel to cheap places. Your money goes exponentially further in places like SE Asia, Eastern Europe, Central and South America than it does in places like Western Europe, US/Canada, Australia, Nordics etc. 2. I do all my trip planning from YouTube and travel blogs. Search things like backpacking Cambodia for 3 weeks or things to see in Serbia. 3. You don't need to plan everything if you want to do a longer trip. For my 6 months in Asia, I booked my first hostel for 5 nights and that was it. I showed up, talked to fellow backpackers and hostel staff, and got some ideas from them to decide where to go to next. 4. If you have basically zero travel experience, start with something close and easy. Book a night or 2 in a nearby city that has some things to do. Take a hike in a state park. Go eat at a well-known restaurant in the next town over you haven't been to. 5. Traveling is like anything else. Practice makes perfect. My first ever trip was a 2-week road trip to New York and back after graduating high school. I slept in my car the whole time and ate peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for lunch to save money. 2nd edit, also getting PMS about personalized, detailed trip planning. I'm trying to start a side business doing trip planning, my dream job. If you need help with anything from a weekend trip to a 1-year trip, PM me and we can work something out. It'll start at $10 for a long weekend and go up from there. I turned out fine because of the years and thousands of dollars spent on therapy far away from them. That I love them but don't like them. Edit, wow, this really blew up. I hope everyone here understands that it is okay to not like your family. Have all the love in the world for them. If they need help, help them. But don't feel obligated to make them part of your life if it doesn't bring you happiness. Won't end well for everyone. Probably a bit more depressing than the answers you were expecting. I have 3 siblings who are all at least 10 years older than me. They don't understand that the mother I grew up with isn't the mother they grew up with. They remember a mother who was always at home when they finished school. Who was there for every sports day, every school play. Who was there when they had children of their own and needed advice. I remember a mother who left me repeatedly. Who left for the final time when I was 11 and could only spare 3 hours a week to visit, despite not working and living 15 minutes away. Who didn't give a shit about anything I did at school, how much I struggled being abandoned, or how difficult she made life for me and Dad by contributing absolutely nothing financially. She died years ago, and we can't ever mourn or reminisce together because I can't bear to hear them talk about this amazing woman they all miss when all I want to do is tell them how fucking selfish she was and I wouldn't have spoken to her for the past 20 years even if she was still with us. That I don't choose to have depression or be anxious. It's not something I can switch off and telling me but you don't have anything to worry about, your life is so good. Is not going to change it. That I prefer solitude. They just don't understand why I don't want to talk to them all the time, why I don't want to be around them all the time, etc. It has nothing to do with them most of the time, it's just that I like my own solitude. I like being able to be by myself, do whatever I want, when I want. It's all about peace. I want my environment to be as drama-free, as quiet or loud as I want. You add more people into that, and that peace is disturbed. Doesn't help that I think I have processing issues. Too much stimuli at once tends to make me exceptionally anxious. That I am in fact funny.